So our theme for today is Nourishing Joy, waking up to the wonders of life. And our Plum Village practice has two key elements. One of them is nourishing joy, and the other is embracing suffering. And today we look at nourishing joy, and tomorrow we will look at embracing suffering, and we will find they are two sides of the same coin. They belong very closely together. And because this is a nature retreat, we will explore how the earth is an ally with both. So, touching the wonders of life, that's obvious. We just need to walk out of the front door and we receive the earth's gift here in this wonderful place. So the earth and nature support us very obviously with touching, joy. And tomorrow we will look at how the earth, we can also take refuge in the earth when we deal with our pain and stress. We had a day of mindfulness in Moray 2 weeks ago on the theme of touching the wonders of life. And I was standing outside of my house in the bright morning sunshine, waiting for my friend to pick me up and give me a lift. And then I took a sip from my water bottle, and the water tasted so sweet and delicious. And in this moment, it was clear to me, this water in this moment is a wonder of life, and I can receive it. How amazing is this? And then I was reflecting, thinking, well, I could have this wonder every day. I do keep rehydrated. I drink lots of water. And what makes this sip of water different? And I realized that what made it different was my mindfulness. I was fully present in this moment. And I was open to touch a wonder of life. And then I remembered that Thich taught us that our mindfulness is the first condition for our happiness, because we need to be there, we need to be present in body and mind in order to be joyful. There is a neuroscience about this. And there's a little book by an American Dharma teacher which is called 10 Breaths to Happiness. I think maybe we can, after the retreat, send a list of resources, and I'll put that on. 10 Breaths to Happiness. And he explains that we feel joyful with the whole physiological I would like to call it this joy response in our body and mind. We all know about the stress response. I think it's time for us to create a joy response. So the joy response has to do with endorphins. So there's a flush on endorphins, and once that has fully kicked in and reached all places, then we feel joyous here. And this whole process takes, as this Dharma teacher says, around about 10 breaths to kick in. That could be a minute, maybe. So when do we allow ourselves 10 breaths to take in something lovely in our relentless daily life? We register, something registers, and we're on to the next thing. So I invite us during this retreat to give our joy 10 breaths, or whatever works for you. at least a moment of bringing ourselves present, and perhaps coming back to Sister True Dedication's lovely little question, what does this present moment feel like? Getting fascinated with what this present moment feels like. And when there is joy, how does this feel like, this joy in my body, in my mind? On retreat, as we already said yesterday, we have many conditions to support our joy and presence. And maybe we already have touched some of them. So let's collect some. What wonders of life, and that sounds very grand, but it could be something small. It could be the smell of coffee in the morning coming down the stairs. So it could be big. I have, in my room, I have little birds, and I don't know what they are. They keep coming to my window and chattering. So that feels a big joy. But there are small joys, and they are all as valid, and they also give us a joy response. Let's collect some big and small joys that we already had in our time together. Just call out.
Tea.
Tea.
Trees.
Trees.
And hugging trees.
Did you say hugging trees? Wonderful.
Red squirrel.
Red squirrel.
With the warmth of the sunshine.
Sunshine, what was that?
The warmth of the sunshine.
The warmth.
And also the freshness of the breeze.
So I didn't quite catch that. Freshness?
Of the breeze.
Being together. Togetherness, yes.
Coming out of noble silence. What do you say for that word? End of noble silence.
Could we put that positive? Maybe connecting through words, or
Yeah.
chatting, or what's the positive of not being silent?
Just communicating.
Communicating.
With words.
The flowers in this room.
But also the noble silence.
Flowers.
The house martins.
Yeah, the house martins are back. I think
Oh, that's
yeah, I
what
think your little birds.
They have nests just outside the front door.
We could go on. We had a retreat in Bergen in March, and we filled several pages. So we could go on, and feel free to add as we go along, because it's lovely to become aware. That's the mindfulness element of joy. We need to be aware that this is something beautiful. And now I will invite a bell, and when you connect with one or all of these joys, I invite you to just for a moment sense and tune in what joy feels like in the system. Maybe you feel it somewhere in particular, or maybe you feel it throughout. Maybe it's more a physical sensation, maybe it's more emotional, mental. How is joy for you? What does that feel like? I just realized when I tuned in that there is different qualities of joy, so it feels different in different times. So there's a joy for me that can be quite fluttery and exhilarated, and then there is also a deep joy that is very deep in the heart. So there's room for exploration this weekend and getting to know our joy. And I remembered when I realized the sip of water is a wonder of life, I remembered Thai's words when he said, "The wonders of life are available for us. The question is, are we available for them?" So we could explore making ourselves a little bit available to joy. In our culture, we're very much conditioned to think that joy and happiness are found outside of ourselves. But they very much depend on our state of mind. The one big takeaway I had from my very first retreat in Plum Village in the late 90s, the sentence that Thai said that burnt itself into my heart and mind was, "Whether you're happy or not depends on what you do with your attention." Quite a strong statement. Whether you're happy or not depends on what you do with your attention.
Sorry, attention or intention?
Attention, as in awareness. So when our mind is calm and our senses are open, we can experience the wonders of life that are already there. But how can we focus on nourishment and beauty when elsewhere there's war and so much suffering? I think we're all acutely aware of what's happening there in the world, and that bombs are dropping on our fellow humans elsewhere, and that the earth is crying. So as I said, we had a retreat in the north of Scotland, and over the days it turned out that many of us didn't find it so easy to tap into joy. There were experiences of guilt. We have it so beautiful, while so much hardship is happening. So the teachings are very clear on this. Thich Nhat Thai is not only giving us permission to cultivate joy, he is asking us to actively cultivate joy and happiness by touching the wonders of life. I hear Thai saying, without joy you can't go very far on the path of practice. Joy is a food that we need. It strengthens our mental and physical health. There's lots of science on that. It strengthens our resilience, our sense of having resources in the face of what we're living through this moment in time. So we can create, in Plum Village practice, we are asked to create like almost a reservoir of positive experience, of joy, of happiness, like a squirrel, that we can draw on on our rainy days, when the going gets tough. if we have plenty of joy, of love in our rucksack, then it will be easier to get through tough times or tough situations. But that it doesn't end there. In the light of interbeing, our joy, our happiness ripples out and touches others in ways we might not even notice. In Plum Village there is a practice called shining the light, and the monastics do this very regularly, and that is a process where the Sangha gives every person feedback on their practice. So everyone gets to say, oh, this is so beautiful, this element of practice is really beautiful, your way of walking, it really inspires me. And then also where there's, where are the points, the crunch points that each of us have, where we need to transform maybe things. And I remember I received a Shining the Light as part of my training, and it was anonymous and in writing, and there were several people commenting on smiles or little interactions they had with me on a retreat that made their day, that were so small that I couldn't even remember them. So I think that's an experience we all have, that sometimes just a small, so our joy, our being present touches others. So that's why we're on retreat also practicing not just for ourselves, but the peace and presence that we nurture in ourselves that can fill the room. For all of ours will fill the room. And it not just adds up, it multiplies. That's how it feels often on retreat. Maybe others have experienced that too. Like at the end of a retreat, it feels like our mindfulness is more than 30-fold. It's 100-fold. So our joy and peace is a contribution to the collective joy and peace. Maybe some of you had a chance to read this beautiful book by Sister Chan Kong, Learning True Love, where she shares about their time in Vietnam during the time of the war, and where they were doing lots of relief work and rebuilding villages. Thai and Sister Chan Kong and their friends and many, many young people went into the countryside and supported the villagers, rebuilding and growing food and teaching the children, all in very harsh conditions of war. And it's very inspiring to read. So it was tough work they were doing. And every Sunday she describes how they were meeting in the temple for a day of mindfulness to someone said yesterday, reset, to nurture themselves, to come back to what was maybe what was their motivation, to touch the love and the beauty of the temple surrounds. And after a day of practicing together and nourishing themselves and each other, I think it was a fairly small group of maybe 8 or 10 people, and then they felt ready to go out again and continue the work. So they were creating an island of mindfulness, of joy, of peace, that then enabled them to serve and contribute. So the invitation today for all of us is to savor the wonders of life, the many wonderful conditions for our happiness that are here today, so we can strengthen ourselves for rainy days to come. And let's be aware that we're doing this also for our families, for our communities, our society, and the world. So I have a suggestion. Maybe you have your own way of practicing this, but if you'd like a suggestion, you could ask yourself maybe 3 times during the day, morning, afternoon, evening, where is the wonder of life that I can connect with in this moment? Something that's good and beautiful. Maybe it will arise naturally. You know, this is my happy moment. Or maybe you look out for it. And then here are some little reminders dotted around the ground floor. If we forget, enjoy the wonders of life now. And then if you like, you could tune in and just receive the full benefit of the joy response, of the endorphin response. And if you need more prompts for how to, as I said earlier, it can at times be not so easy, not as easy as it sounds. Here are a few more ideas, if any of those speaks to you. So this is the 10 breaths to happiness, to savor the moment when it arises, savoring what's good and beautiful. Another way of inviting or touching the wonders of life is to just have a more mindful moment, a moment of non-doing, a moment of just connecting with the senses, giving our thinking mind a moment of break and turn to the senses. And sure enough, there will be something in this environment that will be nourishing. Another lovely practice that you might have heard before is in the evening to look back over our day and think of 10 lovely things that happened. And they can be simple things. And some people even like to write them down, to journal. If you find 10 is too much, you could do 3. There has been a study that where people were invited to recall 3 things they were grateful for in the evening, grateful that they happened in the day, and they had, after a while of doing this, they had improved mental health. So this is good for us. And also it will ripple out and will be good for others, our doing this. So I'd like to just finish this morning's talk with a quote by Sister True Dedication from the beautiful book Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet. She says, "Cultivating reverence for the simple wonders of life is in our times a powerful act of resistance. Choosing to step outside, to open our eyes, ears, and hearts to the presence of this beautiful planet takes courage and freedom." Cultivating reverence for the simple wonders of life is in our times a powerful act of resistance. Choosing to step outside, to open our eyes, ears and hearts to the presence of this beautiful planet takes courage and freedom. I'll just invite a bell.